Have you ever stumbled across a property listing that had you questioning if the seller has found a hidden treasure in the backyard? Based on what you're looking at, the asking price, it just doesn't make any sense. Today we're going to go over some data points that you should be paying attention to when you're listing your property for sale and when you're choosing the right marketing price. By the way, my name's Feldstein. I'm a real estate advisor with Angle Invokers Vancouver. If you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or relocating to Vancouver, or just have questions about our market, all of my contact information is below. The best place to start is to have a firm grasp of what exactly is going on in your local market. Not the market generally speaking. You need specific information for the exact property type, neighborhood, and price point that your property is located in. The best way to gain that knowledge is over time. So as soon as you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, this place isn't really working for us anymore, it's not working for me anymore, I think it might be time to move. Well, that's when you want to engage with a local realtor who can set you up on a system to keep you up to date on exactly what's going on in the market, what new listings are coming to market, and what are those listings selling for. Also, it would be worth attending some of the open houses if any of those listings are hosting open houses so you can see what these properties look like in person. It's one thing when you're sitting down with your realtor and you're about to list a property and you're choosing the marketing price. It's one thing to look at printouts and properties online and look through photos, but it's far more advantageous if you yourself have been through those properties. Now, hopefully your realtor has been through those properties, maybe not all of them, but certainly some of them, but it will help if you've also been through some of them so you can make that direct comparison. So now that you've had a bit of a runway and you're very familiar with what's going on in your market, and now you're at the point where you're like, hey, it's time to go, it's time to list our property. So now you're sitting there and you're choosing a marketing price based on exactly what's happening in the market today. First thing you're gonna look at is what's your competition. So you're gonna look and see what other properties that are on the market that are similar to yours that you'll be competing with. The next thing you're gonna wanna look at is what are places selling for? What are places selling for recently? So what are people willing to pay for those properties? So what you're doing at this point is you're using data. You're using what's going on in the market, what's happening with interest rates, what's happening in your neighborhood, what are people paying for properties? You're using this data to come up with a marketing price that makes sense. And I think that's the key here. It's one thing to go on the market and, try a higher price, but if there's no data to support that price, it's going to be a waste of time. Whether you have the time or not, it's going to be a waste of time because most buyers who are going to come and see the property, and if anybody likes it, they're going to be looking at the same data that you're looking at when you're deciding the marketing price. And they're going to have to look at that data and see what makes sense to them. So if there's no data that supports your asking price, some people might not just make an offer. So now I know some sellers that say, well, I'm negotiable. But if your price is too far out of what's reasonable, buyers will just move on to the next property. And then you're left sitting there kind of wondering what's going on. Ultimately, you're gonna have to be able to justify your marketing price. So if this is the time where you're ready to make that move, then your marketing price has to make sense. Same thing with the buyer. If a buyer comes in and makes an offer and the offer doesn't make any sense, they're way below your asking price, and your asking price was determined based on market data, based on active listings, based on sold listings, and they're coming in at this price that's heavily reduced from that, well, they're going to need to justify that as well. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg when valuing properties, but having a good understanding of your local market will help you make a more informed and confident decision when the time comes. If you have any questions at all, please reach out. And if you're thinking about making a move this year or next year, again, please reach out. Happy to have a conversation.